Tonight, pressure is building for a ceasefire in Ukraine, and Washington is sprinting to put a signature on a plan before the battlefield writes its own ending. U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll is meeting Russians in Abu Dhabi as part of a fast-moving push to translate a revised U.S. plan into an actual stop to the shooting, with some U.S. officials telling CBS that Ukraine has largely said yes, just minor details left, while Russia stays publicly non-committal and missiles still slam into Kyiv's neighborhoods and power grids, even as Ukraine sends waves of drones toward Russian ports. That split screen, paper peace versus real war, is the story. Here's the core. The original 28-point U.S. proposal, reworked after Swiss talks and European complaints, leans on the toughest questions first. Territory in the east and Crimea under de facto Russian control, a freeze along current lines in parts of Kherson and Zaporizhia, and a demilitarized buffer strip in Donetsk. Exactly the kind of concessions Ukrainians call red lines, because they turn the places they've bled for into bargaining chips, and because any freeze risks becoming tomorrow's launchpad. Critics say this rewards aggression. Fans say it saves lives now. The plan also caps Ukraine's army size and pushes a NATO not now, maybe never posture that Moscow favors, even as Europe fights to keep the door technically open and to bulk up security guarantees, so they sound less like vague promises and more like hard deterrents. Think of it as a tug-of-war between a quick deal and a durable peace, and Trump sits right in the middle, branding himself the closer. Politically, this is a high-wire act. Politico says Trump wants peace, no matter what the deal looks like. An outcome-first stance that thrills voters tired of endless war, but alarms Republicans who don't want America to oversee the map shrinking of a sovereign ally. And that internal split matters because any U.S. security guarantees, or sanction snapbacks, only means something if Congress will fund and enforce them. Meanwhile, CBS is reporting that only minor details remain collides with battlefield facts. Kyiv mourns fresh civilian losses after massive barges. NATO jets scramble from Romania when drones stray. And inside Russia, local officials talk about damage in strategic port cities. Negotiators are racing a clock set not by calendars, but by the next strike window. So what should Americans watch? 3 red flags and 3 green lights. Red flags. Territorial concessions that could incentivize future land grabs. Troop caps that may kneecap Ukraine's defense if the truce cracks. And an amnesty idea that may bury accountability for war crimes. Green lights. A real ceasefire that saves lives immediately. A structured channel for Russia. NATO deconfliction to shrink risk of escalation. And a reconstruction package with frozen Russian assets that can reboot Ukraine's economy if the guns truly go silent. Bottom line, the deal's soul is still in flux. Europeans are sanding down the sharpest edges. Ukraine is signaling openness to a framework, but not to surrender. Russia is keeping its cards close, and Trump is chasing a moment big enough to define a presidency. If you hear peace tomorrow, read the fine print. What borders are set, what armies are allowed, who guarantees what. And what happens the day after a signature when the cameras leave and the first checkpoint gets tested.